Hello everyone, thanks very much for joining us. I'm Philip Duncan. Well, we're taking a look at the weekend weather and also the forecast for next week, and there is a lot going on, even though the weather at the moment isn't too bad around the country. This is the animated wind map for the end of the week for Friday, and there's quite a lot going on in the tropics. We've got what was Cyclone Iris. It's the second time it's been downgraded back to a tropical low. So tropical low Iris, no longer a tropical cyclone or a storm, remains out in the Coral Sea, could be out there for still another week, but it is not seriously affecting anyone. Over here, this is the remnants of what was Cyclone Josie that passed by Fiji and Tonga this week. It is well away from them, out at sea, won't affect New Zealand. But this new low up here is the next developing tropical cyclone. It'll form near Vanuatu over this weekend. Then it tracks in a very similar path to Josie, near Fiji, near Tonga, and comes into the northeastern corner of the New Zealand area, this zone in here. So we'll be keeping an eye on where that system goes. But over New Zealand at the moment, a lot of high pressure and a lot of winds coming in from the westerly quarter. It's been a bit windy at times down around Southland, but most other places are fairly calm. So Saturday looks like this. High pressure out in the Tasman is drifting towards us. There's perhaps a bit of a southerly flow around it, so it might just be a little bit cooler than it has been perhaps this week. It's still going to be pretty warm though for some areas. There's going to be a lot of sunshine out around the very north of New Zealand, but there's a very weak cold front in here, and that blue line we talked about yesterday, the temperatures are low below that. So it is a cold Saturday if you're living in Southland and coastal areas of the deep south of New Zealand. Up in the tropics you can see what was Iris, it's now just the low still, the developing cyclone and the remnants of Josie still near New Zealand, quite large, but it's not going to affect our weather. By Sunday, nothing too dramatic going on, but there is that colder change waiting in the wings that arrives later into the afternoon. It is colder than the Saturday change. This is a pretty big cold change for the South Island. It's not major in the sense of it being a major winter blast. It's just our first kind of wake-up call after what has been a very mild start to April. So this is going to be a cold snap coming through, certainly for the South Island. It'll also drop temperatures in the North Island, but not until next week. So for Sunday in the north, a couple of showers, perhaps a little bit cooler because of the southwesterly airflow, but nothing too major on the way. And then we get to Monday, and that is when the cold southerly is really pushing across. Temperatures drop around the South Island even further. That's when we get into the single-digit daytime highs. In the north, just a couple of showers and those southwesterly winds. Once we reach Tuesday, that's when that southerly is really kicking in over the country. The big high that's down there, and it's shaped north to south, so it reaches right down towards Antarctica, scoops up the air and drags it back up. So that blue line gets pushed all the way up towards the Cook Strait area. There's a new area of low pressure forming, which will just fuel more moisture. So cold air plus moisture usually equals pretty heavy snow up in the mountains. So Mount Ruapehu might get its first big sort of snow dump of the year. Certainly the upper South Island mountains will do. We're not talking low down, we're talking the mountains. And then we've got the new tropical cyclone up here just directly to the north. And once you get to the Wednesday map, it's a pretty interesting one because you've got the blue line here showing the big southerly blast coming up. You've got the red line there showing the tropical warmth coming down, and New Zealand is sort of in the middle of the two. So the cyclone should be to the north like Josie was. It may not affect us at all, but it is pretty close. And meanwhile, we've got the big southerly coming in, a high rolling in to lock in that cold and make it frosty for some areas. Meanwhile, very windy in the North Island, but it's going to be a bit of a moving feature. I think this forecast is not yet locked in, so we still need to just wait another day or so. Obviously you have to wait until Monday for the next video, but our weather forecast updates will continue on over the weekend on our app and website, and we're watching this very closely, this setup here. But this is the big high that rolls in behind it. So a lot of moving parts as we head in towards next week, but most of those moving parts are just to our north and just to our south. That's all from me. I'll update you again on Monday. Have a terrific weekend.